My name is the only thing in this story that truly belongs to me. Everything else, my marriage, my home, my peace, was slowly taken without me knowing. But before I tell you how, let me take you to the moment that changed everything. I was the most admired wife in my town. People smiled when they saw us together. They pointed and whispered, "That is real love." And then, I opened a folder I was never meant to find. Before I continue, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and turn on your notification bell so you never miss stories like this. Stories about love, betrayal, and strength. Also, tell me in the comments what country you are watching from, so I know who is here with me tonight. Now listen carefully. The paper trembled in my hands. Not because the room was cold, but because my heart suddenly felt like it had fallen through the floor. The title on the document was written in bold letters. Property Transfer Agreement. My name was there. But the signature under it was not mine. And the date. It was dated 3 months after our wedding. That was when my legs gave way, and I sat on the floor, staring at the words that exposed the man everyone praised, and the marriage I thought was perfect. Just hours earlier, my life still felt normal. That morning, I had woken up smiling. I made breakfast. I packed his lunch. I kissed him goodbye. He smiled back and said, "You're the best thing that ever happened to me." Those words echoed in my head now like a cruel joke. Because the document in my hands told a different story. A story where I was not a wife. I was a plan. As I flipped through the pages, my fingers shook harder. Every page felt heavier than the last. There were stamps, signatures, legal words I barely understood. But I understood one thing very clearly. Everything I owned before marriage. Everything my parents left for me. Everything people said made me lucky. He had already claimed it. Without my knowledge. Without my consent. Without my love. My heart raced as memories rushed back. The rushed wedding. The way he insisted on handling all paperwork. The way he said, "Don't worry your head. Trust me." And how proudly I did. People used to say, "You married well. He treats you like gold." If only they knew. Gold to him was never me. I heard the front door open. My breath caught in my throat. His footsteps echoed through the hallway, slow and confident, like a man who believed everything in his house was exactly where it should be, including me. I quickly slid the papers back into the folder, but it was too late. My face was wet with tears. My hands betrayed me. He stood at the doorway and looked at me. Then his eyes dropped to the folder beside me. And in that moment, his smile disappeared. Completely. He did not ask if I was okay. He did not ask why I was crying. He only asked one question. In a calm voice that scared me more than shouting ever could. He said, "Why are you in my files?" That was the moment I realized something terrifying. This was not a mistake. This was not love gone wrong. This was a plan that worked perfectly. Until I found the document. And as he stepped closer to me, I understood something else. The praise, the smiles, the perfect marriage everyone admired. It was all built on a lie. And what he did next would change everything. But I wasn't ready for it. He stood there, blocking the doorway. The room felt smaller with him in it, like the walls were slowly moving closer. My heart was beating so loud I was sure he could hear it. I tried to wipe my tears, but my hands would not stop shaking. He looked at me again and repeated his question, slower this time. "Why are you in my files?" Not our files. His files. That single word told me more than he ever had in our whole marriage. I swallowed hard. My mouth felt dry, like I had not had water in days. "I was cleaning," I said. My voice sounded weak, even to me. "I wasn't looking for anything." He did not answer right away. He just stared at me. His eyes were calm, but too calm. It was the kind of calm that comes before a storm. Then he stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. The soft click of the lock made my stomach drop. I had never been afraid of my husband before. Not once. Even when we argued, even when he raised his voice, I always told myself, he loves me. He would never hurt me. But in that moment, sitting on the floor with a folder full of lies beside me, I felt something new. Fear. Pure, cold fear. He walked over and picked up the folder. Slowly. Carefully. Like it was something precious. He flipped through the pages, even though I knew he already knew exactly what was inside. Then he looked at me and sighed, like I was the problem. You weren't supposed to see this yet, he said. That word hit me hard. Yet. I pushed myself up from the floor and stood, even though my legs felt weak. Yet? I asked. What do you mean, yet? He closed the folder and placed it on the table. You're making this bigger than it is, he said calmly. Sit down. Let's talk like adults. Like adults. Adults don't hide documents. Adults don't steal. Adults don't marry someone with a secret plan. I crossed my arms, trying to protect myself. That paper has my name on it, I said. It says my property was transferred. I never signed anything like that. His eyes darkened for just a second. Then the calm smile came back. You don't remember, he said. I stared at him. What do you mean I don't remember? He shrugged. It was during the wedding period. You were stressed. You trusted me. You signed a lot of things. A cold chill ran through me. No, I said. I would remember that. He stepped closer. You're emotional right now, he said. That's normal. But don't accuse me of something you don't understand. That was when I realized something painful. He was not shocked. He was not guilty. He was prepared. I felt tears fill my eyes again, but this time, I did not let them fall. Why? I asked quietly. Why would you do this? He looked at me like he was tired. Told you, he said. You're making it dramatic. I shook my head. You married me. You promised me. Everyone praised our marriage. Was that all a lie? He laughed. Not loud. Not angry. Just a short laugh that cut deep. People praise what they see, he said. Not what's real. Those words hurt more than shouting ever could. I walked to the window and stared outside. The same street. The same neighbors. The same people who smiled at us every morning. If only they knew what was happening behind these walls. You loved me, I said, almost begging. Didn't you? He did not answer right away. Then he said something that broke my heart into pieces. I respected you, he said. That should be enough. Enough. Love was never even part of it. My mind raced back to the beginning. How he came into my life when I was lonely. How he listened to my stories. How he always said, you deserve someone who will take care of everything. I thought he meant my heart. Now I knew he meant my assets. My inheritance. My future. I turned back to him. You planned this, I said. Didn't you? He sighed again, like a man explaining something simple to a child. I planned security, he said. For us. For you, I corrected. He smiled slightly. Marriage is teamwork. I felt sick. If I never found that document, I asked, what would have happened? He paused. Just for a second. But that second told me everything. You would have been comfortable, he finally said. Safe. Taken care of. And empty, I whispered. He stepped closer again. You should stop digging, he said softly. Some truths destroy homes. I looked at him and realized the truth had already destroyed mine. That night, we slept on the same bed. But it felt like I was lying next to a stranger. I stayed awake, listening to his breathing. Even. Peaceful. Like nothing was wrong. But inside me, something was screaming. I needed answers. Real answers. And I knew one thing for sure. That document was not the only secret. The next morning, he left early for work. Before he closed the door, he turned and said, "Don't touch my files again." When the door shut, I stood there in silence. Then I did something dangerous. Something brave. Something I was never supposed to do. I went back to the drawer. And I opened it again. Because if one document could expose his real intention, what else had he hidden? And what I was about to find next would make that first paper feel like nothing. But I did not know that yet. My hands were shaking so badly that I had to sit down before opening the drawer again. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Every small sound felt loud, the tick of the wall clock, the hum of the fridge, even my own breathing. I kept looking toward the door, half expecting him to walk back in and catch me. But he was gone. And for the first time since I married him, I was alone with the truth. I pulled the drawer open slowly. Inside were folders, neatly arranged. Each one labeled. Each one looking harmless. I took the first folder. Bank statements. I flipped through them. At first, nothing looked strange. Just numbers, dates, deposits. But then I noticed something. My name was there. But next to it was another name. A name I did not recognize. At first, I told myself it was nothing. Maybe a business partner. Maybe a lawyer. Maybe someone from the bank. But the more pages I turned, the more that name appeared. On accounts connected to my property. On accounts connected to my inheritance. My chest tightened. Why would someone else's name be tied to what belonged to me? I placed that folder aside and grabbed another one. Insurance documents. My hands felt cold as I flipped through the pages. Life insurance. Health insurance. Property insurance. All under my name. But guess who the main beneficiary was? Not me. Not my parents. Not even our future children. It was him. And that same unfamiliar name. I felt dizzy. I had never signed up for life insurance on myself. Never. So why was there a policy worth so much money? And why did it say it had been active since shortly after our wedding? I stood up and walked to the couch, the papers clutched to my chest. Memories came flooding back. The day he insisted we organize our future. The day he said, "Just trust me. This is for our safety." I remembered how proud he looked that day. Now I knew why. I whispered to myself, "Who are you?" But the house did not answer. I went back to the drawer and took the next folder. This one was thicker, heavier. It was labeled, legal. My heart pounded as I opened it. Wills. Power of attorney forms. Consent letters. Some were signed by him. Some were signed by me. Or at least, something that looked like my signature. But I knew my handwriting. That was not how I signed my name. I dropped the papers. They scattered on the floor like broken pieces of my life. Someone had copied my signature. Someone had practiced it. Someone had planned this for a long time. And the scariest part? It was done by someone who kissed me goodnight. I bent down to pick up the papers, and that was when I saw it. A letter. Not official. Not stamped. Just folded neatly and placed carefully inside the folder. My fingers felt numb as I unfolded it. It was not written to me. It was written about me. "Everything is progressing well," the letter said. "She trusts me completely. The assets are secure. Once the final step is completed, there will be no complications." My throat closed. Final step. What final step? At the bottom of the letter was a signature. That same name. The one I did not recognize. And suddenly, something clicked in my mind. This was not just about money. This was about control. About ownership. About me. I sat there for a long time, staring at the wall. My heart felt like it was being crushed slowly. I remembered how he always checked my phone. How he always wanted to know where I was. How he never liked me visiting my old friends alone. I thought it was love. I thought it was care. But now I saw it clearly. It was isolation. My phone buzzed. I jumped. It was a message from him. Did you eat? I stared at the screen. How could someone plan something so dark and still pretend to care? I did not reply. I needed air. I grabbed my bag and walked out of the house. The sunlight felt strange on my skin, like I had been living in the dark without knowing it. I walked aimlessly until my feet hurt. Then I stopped at a small cafe. I sat in a corner and spread the documents on the table. That was when the waitress looked at me and asked, "Are you okay?" I wanted to say yes, but I couldn't. I looked back at the papers and focused on that name again. The unfamiliar name. I typed it into my phone. At first, nothing came up. Then I scrolled. And my blood ran cold. The name appeared in a news article. Old. Buried. But real. It talked about a woman who lost everything after marrying a man who later disappeared. Property gone. Accounts emptied. No trace of the husband. And listed as a legal consultant in the case was that same name. My hands began to shake again. This had happened before. I was not the first. I was just the next. I rushed home. My heart was racing. I needed to confront him. Or maybe I needed to pretend I knew nothing. I did not know which was safer. That evening, he came home like nothing had changed. He kissed my cheek. He asked about my day. He smiled. I smiled back. But inside, I was screaming. As we ate dinner, he casually said, "We should talk about updating some documents soon." I nearly dropped my spoon. I looked at him. And for the first time, I saw him clearly. Not as my husband, but as a stranger with a plan. That night, as he slept peacefully beside me, I stared at the ceiling. I knew something terrible was coming. Something final. And the name I had found. It was only the beginning. Because the next thing I would discover would prove that my life, not just my marriage, was in danger. And I was running out of time. I did not sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw documents floating in front of me. Signatures that were not mine. Words that spoke about my life like it was an object. Beside me, he slept deeply. His breathing was slow and steady, like a man with no worries in the world. I watched his chest rise and fall and wondered how someone could lie so easily, love so carefully, and still plan something so cruel. I realized something painful in that silence. The danger was not loud. It was quiet. When morning came, I acted normal. That was the hardest part. I cooked breakfast. I smiled. I asked about his day. He watched me closely. Too closely. "Are you okay?" he asked. I nodded. "Just tired." He reached out and touched my hand. His grip was gentle, but I felt trapped. "You've been distant," he said. "You know you can tell me anything." The words almost made me laugh. Almost. After he left for work, I sat alone in the house and listened. No footsteps. No voices. Just the sound of my own breathing. That was when I understood something important. If I confronted him now, I would lose. He had papers. He had plans. He had help. What I had was fear. So I chose silence. I took out my phone and called the only person I trusted. My aunt. She had raised me after my parents died. She always told me, "Listen to your spirit before your heart." When she answered, her voice was warm. "My child," she said. "What is wrong?" I tried to speak. Nothing came out. Then I started crying. I told her everything. The documents. The signatures. The name. The insurance. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then she said something that chilled me. "You are not safe," she said. The words felt heavy. "What do I do?" I whispered. First, she said firmly, do not let him know what you know. Second, you must protect yourself quietly. That word again. Quietly. Everyone told me to be quiet, to stay calm, to pretend. And I hated it. But I knew it was the only way. Later that day, I went through my own things. My birth certificate. My old bank statements. My parents' documents. Some were missing. I searched everywhere. Closets. Boxes. Drawers. Nothing. My heart raced. He had taken them. I felt naked. I sat on the bed, holding my phone, trying to think. Then I remembered something. Before I married him, my aunt helped me open a small savings account. I never told him about it. I checked it. The money was still there. It was not much, but it was mine. For the first time in days, I felt a small sense of hope. That evening, he came home earlier than usual. My heart skipped. You look busy, he said. I was cleaning, I replied. Again. Always cleaning. He smiled. You've always been such a good wife. The words burned. During dinner, he watched me like he was studying my face. You trust me, right? He asked suddenly. I froze for a second. Then I nodded. Of course. He smiled. And that smile scared me more than anger. Later that night, he reached for me in bed. I turned away, pretending to sleep. He sighed but said nothing. The silence between us felt heavy, like a warning. The next day, something strange happened. I received a call from a number I did not know. I almost ignored it. But something told me to answer. Hello, I said. There was a pause. Then a woman's voice. Soft. Careful. Is this the wife? She asked. My heart stopped. Yes, I replied slowly. She took a deep breath. I don't have much time, she said. But you need to listen to me. My hands began to shake. Listen to what? I asked. She lowered her voice. He is not who you think he is. My stomach dropped. I know, I whispered. She paused. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. You are not the first wife. The call ended suddenly. The line went dead. I stared at my phone. My mind was spinning. Not the first. How many had there been? What happened to them? That night, I sat in the dark, waiting for him to come home. When he walked in, he looked tired. Long day, he said. I nodded. My heart was pounding. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But I stayed quiet. Because I finally understood something. Silence was not weakness. Silence was survival. And as he sat beside me and turned on the television, I made a promise to myself. I would watch. I would listen. I would remember everything. Because the truth was coming closer. And when it arrived, it would not be gentle. The woman on the phone had only opened the door. What was waiting behind it would change my life forever. After that phone call, nothing felt real anymore. I moved through the house like a shadow. I smiled when he spoke. I nodded when he asked questions. But inside me, there was a loud voice repeating one sentence again and again. You are not the first wife. That thought followed me everywhere. When I washed plates, I imagined other hands doing the same thing before me. When I slept on the bed, I wondered who had cried on that pillow before my tears touched it. When he said my name, I asked myself how many times he had said it to someone else. And what happened to them? The next morning, I woke up before him. I watched him sleep again, but this time, I felt nothing. No love. No warmth. No comfort. Just questions. I quietly got out of bed and went to the bathroom. I locked the door and leaned against it, breathing hard. I looked at my reflection. My eyes looked older. Tired. Afraid. But something else was there too. Awareness. I decided to do something risky. I would search his past. Carefully. silently. That day, after he left for work, I packed a small bag and went to my aunt's house. When she opened the door and saw my face, she pulled me into a tight hug. "You look like someone who has seen a ghost," she said. "Worse," I replied. "I've seen the truth." I told her about the phone call, about the woman, about not being the first wife. Her face hardened. "This is serious," she said. "You must not go back there without a plan." "I need answers," I said. "I need to know who he really is." She nodded slowly. "Then we start with his past." My aunt knew people. Old people. People who remembered names and faces. That afternoon, she made a call. Then another. By evening, she looked at me and said, "I found something." My heart raced. She handed me her phone. On the screen was a picture. An old wedding photo. The man standing in it looked younger. But it was him. The same smile. The same eyes. The same lie. Beside him stood a woman I had never seen before. She looked happy. Trusting. Just like I once did. "Her name?" I asked. My aunt told me. My hands shook as I repeated it. "She disappeared," my aunt said quietly. "After 2 years of marriage. No divorce. No funeral. Nothing." I felt sick. "What about her family?" "They searched," my aunt said. "But nothing was ever proven. He moved cities shortly after." Moved. Started again. With me. I felt like the room was spinning. "How many?" I whispered. "We don't know," she replied. "But there is more." She scrolled on her phone. Another photo appeared. Another woman. Another wedding. Different city. Same man. Same smile. I covered my mouth to stop myself from screaming. "They all lost their property," my aunt continued. "Houses. Land. Businesses. Everything transferred during marriage." "And then?" I asked. "And then they vanished from his life," she said. "Some disappeared. Some were left with nothing." My chest felt tight. "So that document," I said slowly, "was not just about money." "No," she replied. "It was about removing you." I went home that night with a calm I did not recognize. I knew who I was living with now. A hunter. And I was the prey. He was already home when I arrived. "You're late," he said casually. "I visited my aunt," I replied. His eyes narrowed slightly. "Why?" "She wasn't feeling well." He watched me for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Family is important," he said. I nearly laughed. That night, he was unusually kind. He cooked. He joked. He held my hand longer than usual. It felt like a performance. And I knew why. He was preparing. Later, as we lay in bed, he spoke softly. "You know," he said, "we should update your will." My heart skipped. "For safety," he added. "Anything can happen." I turned my face toward him. "What do you mean?" I asked. He smiled in the dark. "Life is unpredictable." I closed my eyes. Fear wrapped around my chest. The next day, I followed him. I told him I had errands to run. Instead, I took a taxi and kept my distance. He did not go to work. He went somewhere else. A small office building. No sign outside. No name. I waited. Then I saw someone come out. A woman. Middle-aged. She looked nervous. And then I saw it. That same name. The one from the documents. Printed on the door. I did not go inside. I did not need to. I finally understood. This was not love gone wrong. This was a system. A routine. A trap. That evening, he asked me something that froze my blood. "Have you ever thought about what would happen if you weren't here anymore?" he said casually. I stared at him. He laughed lightly. "I mean, we should plan for the future." I forced a smile. But inside I knew. The future he was planning did not include me. At least, not alive. That night, I packed copies of the documents. I hid them in my bag. I whispered a prayer. Because now I was sure of one thing. If I stayed quiet for too long, I would become another name in someone else's past. And I was running out of time. The fear changed shape after that night. Before, it was confusion. Then it became suspicion. Now, it was certainty. I woke up the next morning with a strange calm in my chest, the kind that comes when your mind finally accepts the truth your heart has been avoiding. The man I married was dangerous. Not loud dangerous. Not angry dangerous. But quiet. Careful. Patient. The kind of danger that smiles while planning your end. He was already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed when I opened my eyes. "You didn't sleep well," he said. It was not a question. "I had a headache," I replied. He nodded slowly. "We should get you checked. You've been tired a lot." My stomach turned. Concern. Another mask. During breakfast, he suggested something new. "We should take a short trip," he said. "Just us. Somewhere quiet." I froze. "A trip?" I repeated. "Yes," he smiled. "Fresh air. Peace. It will be good for you." The word quiet echoed in my head. Quiet places don't have witnesses. I forced myself to smile. "That sounds nice." He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Good," he said. "I'll handle everything." Of course he would. After he left for the day, I went straight to my aunt's house again. This time, I did not cry. I spoke clearly. "He wants to take me somewhere quiet," I said. My aunt's face went pale. "That is how it ends," she said softly. I nodded. "I know." She locked the door and sat across from me. "You must leave," she said. "Now." "I can't just disappear," I replied. "That would make him suspicious." She thought for a moment. "Then you must act normal," she said. "And prepare." That afternoon, something happened that removed all doubt from my mind. I was cleaning the kitchen when I felt dizzy. My vision blurred. The room spun. I grabbed the counter to steady myself. It passed after a few minutes. At first, I blamed stress. Then I remembered something. The tea he made for me that morning. I poured the rest of the tea into a small container and took it to a clinic. I told them I felt strange after drinking it. They tested it. The nurse came back with a serious look. "There is something in this," she said carefully. "Not enough to kill, but enough to make you weak. Over time, it could be dangerous." My ears rang. Not enough to kill. Yet. I thanked her and left. My legs felt like rubber. He was testing me. Weakening me. Preparing my body before preparing my end. That night, he watched me closely as I ate. "Feeling better?" he asked. "Yes," I said. I did not touch the drink he poured. He noticed, but said nothing. Later, he received a phone call and stepped outside. I followed quietly and stood near the door. I heard his voice. Low. Serious. "Not yet," he said. "She's still alert. We need patience." My blood ran cold. "There's no rush," he continued. "Everything is legally secure." I stepped back before he could see me. My hands were shaking. When he came back inside, he smiled at me like always. "You look pale," he said. "Let me make you something warm." "No," I replied quickly. "I'm fine." His smile faded for just a second. Then it returned. That night, I did not sleep. I lay still, pretending, listening, planning. The next morning, I did something bold. I went to the police. I told them everything. The documents. The past wives. The poisoning. They listened. Then they said something that broke me. "We need more evidence." Evidence. As if my fear was not enough. I walked out feeling helpless. But not defeated. If the law needed proof, I would get it. That evening, he told me the trip was booked. We leave in 3 days, he said. 3 days. I had 3 days to save my life. I packed a small bag that night. I hid copies of every document. I saved voice recordings on my phone. I memorized emergency numbers. I slept with my phone under my pillow. As I closed my eyes, one thought burned in my mind. I was not going on a trip. I was walking toward a trap. And if I did not act fast, I would not be coming back. The man sleeping beside me was no longer my husband. He was my greatest threat. The 3 days before the trip felt longer than my entire marriage. Every hour moved slowly, like time itself was warning me to pay attention to every detail. I smiled when I had to. I laughed when he joked. I played the role of the loving wife so well that even I almost forgot I was terrified. Almost. Inside me, fear was growing like a shadow that never left. He was unusually happy. He whistled while dressing. He talked about the road, the weather, the quiet place he chose, just for us. He even told me to pack light. Just the essentials, he said. That sentence made my stomach twist. Essentials for who? At night, I pretended to sleep. But I listened. I listened to his breathing. I listened to his phone vibrating softly. I listened to the sound of him stepping outside to take calls he thought I could not hear. Once, very late at night, I heard him whisper, "Yes, everything is ready." I pressed my face into the pillow so he would not hear my breathing change. I started hiding things. Not in obvious places. In boring places. Behind old books. Inside folded clothes. Under loose floor tiles. Copies of documents. Photos of signatures. Voice notes I recorded secretly. I even wrote a short letter to my aunt, explaining everything, and hid it where she would find it if something happened to me. Writing that letter almost broke me. On the second day, he suggested something strange. "We should update your phone password," he said casually. "In case of emergencies." My heart nearly stopped. "I like my password," I replied calmly. He smiled. "I just want to help." "I'm fine," I said, forcing a laugh. He watched me carefully. Then he nodded. Of course. But I knew. He was watching for cracks. That afternoon, I went to the market. He insisted on driving me. I noticed he parked farther away than usual. No cameras. Less people. I pretended not to notice. Inside the market, I slipped a small note into a woman's bag when she wasn't looking. It had only 2 words written on it. "Help me." I don't know why I did it. Hope makes you do desperate things. When we got home, he checked my bag. Slowly. Carefully. "You didn't buy much," he said. "I wasn't hungry," I replied. Another lie. But I was getting good at them. That night, he asked me a question that chilled me. "If something happened to you," he said softly, "would you want me to move on?" I stared at him. "What kind of question is that?" I asked. He shrugged. "Just thinking." I forced a smile. "I want to live," I said. He laughed lightly. "So dramatic." The morning of the trip arrived. I woke up before him. I stood in the bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror for a long time. I touched my face, my arms, my heart. I whispered, "Stay alive." We drove out of the city just after sunrise. The roads became emptier. The houses disappeared. Trees replaced buildings. My phone signal grew weak. 1 bar. Then none. He noticed. "No distractions," he said cheerfully. "Just peace." My hands clenched in my lap. After hours of driving, we turned onto a narrow road. No signs. No people. Just trees and silence. My heart began to race. "Are we close?" I asked. Yes, he said. Very close. The place was far from everything. A small house. Isolated. Quiet. Too quiet. He parked the car and turned to me. We're here, he said, smiling. I opened the door slowly. The air felt heavy, like it was pressing down on my chest. Inside the house, there was no signal. No neighbors. No sound except the wind outside. He locked the door behind us. The click echoed loudly. Too loudly. Relax, he said. You look nervous. I'm just tired, I replied. Another lie. He offered me a drink. I refused. He insisted. I smiled and took a small sip, then pretended to cough and poured the rest into the sink when he wasn't looking. He watched. Said nothing. As night fell, the house grew darker. The lights flickered once. Then steadied. He sat across from me, watching me eat. You know, he said calmly, this place has seen many quiet moments. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? I asked. He smiled slowly. Nothing. Later, he stepped outside to make a call. I followed quietly and stood near the window. I heard him say, tonight or tomorrow. Either way, it ends here. My heart felt like it stopped. He came back inside and locked the door again. He looked at me. And for the first time since I met him, his eyes held no kindness at all. Get some rest, he said. Tomorrow will be a big day. I nodded and walked toward the bedroom. Every step felt heavy, because I knew something with terrifying certainty. I would not be leaving this place the same way I arrived. And I did not know if I would be leaving at all. I locked the bedroom door behind me. Or at least I tried to. The lock clicked, but the sound felt weak, almost useless. I leaned my back against the door and closed my eyes, forcing myself to breathe slowly. In, out. My heart was beating so fast it hurt. This was it. There was no city noise. No neighbors. No signal. Just me. And the man who brought me here to disappear. I sat on the edge of the bed and listened. Footsteps moved around the house. A drawer opened. A bottle clinked against glass. Then silence. That silence was worse than sound. I stood up and looked around the room. It was small. Plain. Too clean. There was only one window, and it was barred from the outside. My stomach dropped. This place was prepared. I checked my phone again. No signal. But the battery was still strong. I opened my voice recorder and pressed record. If this was the last thing I ever did, someone would hear me. Minutes passed. Then I heard his footsteps approach the door. He knocked once. Softly. Are you okay? He asked. Yes, I replied, forcing my voice to stay steady. Just resting. Good, he said. Don't stay up too late. His footsteps moved away. I did not relax. I waited. When the house grew quiet again, I moved. Slowly. Carefully. I remembered what my aunt once told me. When fear is unavoidable, use it. I checked my bag. Inside were the copies of documents. My phone. A small flashlight. And one more thing. A kitchen knife I had taken earlier and hidden between folded clothes. My hands shook as I held it. I had never held a weapon before. I whispered to myself, "You deserve to live." I cracked the door open and listened. Nothing. I stepped into the hallway. The lights were dim. The living room was empty. I could hear water running softly. The bathroom. He was distracted. I moved quickly to the front door. Locked. I tried the windows. All sealed. My chest tightened. There was no easy escape. Then I heard my name. Soft. Almost gentle. "Come here," he said from behind me. I froze. Slowly, I turned. He stood there, leaning against the wall. Watching me. Not angry. Not surprised. Amused. Looking for something, he asked. I couldn't sleep, I said. He nodded. Neither could I. He stepped closer. My heart pounded. You know, he said calmly, I didn't want it to be like this. I swallowed hard. Like what? Complicated. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small bottle. Clear liquid inside. My blood ran cold. You've been under a lot of stress, he said. This will help you relax. I shook my head. No, I said firmly. I don't want it. He smiled. That wasn't a request. He took another step toward me. I raised the knife. His smile faded. For the first time, I saw surprise in his eyes. You wouldn't, he said. I tightened my grip. You don't know me anymore, I replied. For a moment, we just stood there. Two people who once shared a bed. Now standing like enemies. Then he laughed. A low, dark laugh. This always happens, he said. There's always a moment when they think they can fight back. They. That word confirmed everything. How many? I asked. He tilted his head. Enough. My stomach twisted. And the others? I whispered. He shrugged. Some ran out of luck. Some ran out of time. My hands shook harder. He noticed. You're tired, he said. You're scared. You'll drop that. No, I said. He sighed. I really did try to make this easy. He moved fast. Too fast. He lunged toward me. I screamed and swung the knife wildly. It cut his arm. He yelled in pain and stumbled back. Blood dripped onto the floor. My breath came in sharp gasps. I did not wait. I ran. I locked myself in the bathroom and slammed my body against the door. He banged on it hard. Open this door, he shouted. I screamed back. Stay away from me. You can't escape, he yelled. There's nowhere to go. I looked around desperately. Then I saw it. The small bathroom window. High. But not barred. Hope rushed through me. I climbed onto the sink and pushed with all my strength. The window cracked open. Cold night air rushed in. The door shook violently behind me. Stop, he screamed. I forced the window wider and squeezed through. My arms scraped. My legs burned. But I was outside. I ran into the darkness. Trees everywhere. Branches hitting my face. My lungs burned. Behind me, I heard him shouting my name. Closer. Faster. I did not know where I was going. I just ran. And ran. Until my foot caught on something. I fell hard to the ground. Pain shot through my ankle. I screamed. Then I heard footsteps. Very close. A shadow fell over me. And his voice whispered in the dark. You should have stayed quiet. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. This was no longer about escape. It was about survival. And only one of us was leaving that forest alive. My ankle screamed in pain as I tried to move. The ground beneath me was cold and wet. Leaves stuck to my skin. My breath came out in short, broken gasps. I could taste blood in my mouth, though I didn't know where it was coming from. Then I heard him breathe. Right behind me. Slow. Controlled. Certain. You should have stayed quiet, he repeated. I closed my eyes for a second, not to give up, but to think. Fear wanted me to freeze. But something else rose inside me. Anger. I rolled to the side just as he reached for me. His hand grabbed air. I screamed and kicked with my good leg, hitting his knee. He cursed loudly and stumbled back. I pushed myself up, ignoring the pain, and ran again. Not fast. Not straight. But desperate. The forest swallowed me. Branches tore at my clothes. Stones cut into my feet. Every step felt like fire shooting up my leg, but I did not stop. Behind me, I could hear him. Crashing. Swearing. Breathing hard now. The calm was gone. I remembered something my aunt once told me when I was a child. If you are being chased, do not run blindly. Run smart. I forced myself to think. The ground sloped downward. That meant water. And where there was water, there might be people. Or at least noise. Evidence. I turned sharply and followed the slope. My lungs burned. My vision blurred. Then I heard it. Water. A stream. Hope rushed through me like electricity. I reached the edge of a shallow river and fell to my knees. I plunged my hands into the water and splashed my face, trying to stay awake. Then I heard his voice again. Closer. You're tired, he said calmly, like we were having a normal conversation. You can't keep this up. I turned slowly. He stood on the other side of the stream, bleeding from his arm. His face no longer smiling. His eyes dark. You think you're special, he continued. They all fight at first. They. I shouted. He smirked. You already know. I picked up a rock from the ground and held it tight. You plan to kill me, I said. He shrugged. Legally, everything was already done. That word again. Legally. So I was just a problem left to solve? I asked. A loose end, he replied calmly. Something inside me snapped. I threw the rock at him. It hit his shoulder. He roared in anger and stepped into the water. The stream slowed him down. I took that chance and ran along the water, splashing loudly, leaving clear tracks. Then suddenly, I turned sharply and climbed up the rocky side, hiding behind thick bushes. I covered my mouth, held my breath. He ran past me, right past me. His footsteps faded into the distance. For the first time, I had fooled him. The hunter had lost sight of his prey. I stayed there for a long time, shaking, listening. The forest was alive with sounds. But not him. I checked my phone again. One weak bar of signal flickered. My hands trembled as I dialed emergency. The call tried. Failed. Tried again. Then. It rang. Emergency services, a voice said faintly. I cried. Please. I'm in danger. My husband tried to kill me. The signal crackled. Location? The voice asked. I don't know, I sobbed. Forest. Near a cabin, please. The call dropped. I wanted to scream. But I forced myself to stay quiet. I knew something now. If help didn't come, I would have to end this myself. The sky began to lighten slightly. Dawn was coming. And with it, choices. I limped deeper into the forest, keeping low. Then I heard something new. Sirens. Faint. Distant. But real. My heart leaped. Then I heard another sound. Footsteps. Slow. Careful. Coming toward me. I hid behind a fallen tree and peeked through the branches. It was him. But he looked different now. Desperate. Angry. Afraid. He had lost control. He spoke to himself. She called someone. I know she did. He pulled out his phone. No signal. He cursed. Then he did something that made my blood freeze. He turned back toward the cabin. I understood instantly. The documents. The evidence. If he destroyed them, no one would believe me. I forced myself to stand. Pain exploded in my ankle, but I bit down on my lip and followed him. Slowly. Quietly. Each step felt like fire. But I knew this. This was my last chance. If I let him reach that cabin first, I would lose everything. My proof. My truth. My life. The cabin came into view through the trees. Smoke drifted from the chimney. He was already there, reaching for the door. And in that moment, I understood something with terrifying clarity. This was not just about escaping anymore. This was about stopping him. Because if I didn't, he would do this again. To another woman. Another wife. Another life erased. I tightened my grip on the knife hidden in my pocket. My heart pounded. The sirens were closer now. But not close enough. I took a step forward. Then another. And as he opened the cabin door, I whispered to myself, "This ends now." But I had no idea that what waited inside that cabin would shock me more than anything I had already seen. And it would force me to make a choice I could never undo. I stepped into the cabin. The door was still open. The smell hit me first. Paper, smoke, and something sharp, like fear. The living room was a mess. Drawers pulled out. Files scattered on the floor. He was moving fast, grabbing documents, stuffing them into a bag. He turned when he heard me. For a second, neither of us moved. Then his face changed. Not anger. Not surprise. Fear. "You should be gone," he said quietly. "You're hurt. You won't make it far." I raised the knife. "I don't need to go far," I replied. "I just need the truth." He laughed, but it sounded weak now. "You think anyone will believe you?" he asked. "You signed the papers." "I didn't," I said. "You forged them." He stepped back, eyes darting to the windows. "Even if that's true," he said, "it's too late." That was when I saw it. On the table. Another folder. Thicker than the rest. Labeled with a single word. Final. I moved toward it. "Don't," he snapped. I moved anyway. Inside were photographs. Not of me. Of other women. Wedding photos. Home photos. Smiling faces. Then documents. Insurance claims. Property transfers. Death certificates. My hands shook as I read. Some causes said accident. Some said illness. One said unknown. My stomach turned. "They trusted you," I whispered. He swallowed. "They were careless," he said. "You were different." "Because I found the document?" I asked. "No," he said softly. "Because you fought back." Sirens grew louder outside. He heard them too. His eyes widened. He rushed toward the back door. I moved without thinking. I slammed the door shut and locked it. He turned on me, wild now. "You don't understand," he shouted. "This is bigger than you." "Then tell me," I said. "Tell me who helped you." He hesitated. Then he laughed bitterly. "You already met her," he said. The voice on the phone. My heart dropped. "She warned me," I said. "She survived," he replied. "Barely. And she wanted a share." The room spun. "She helped you?" I asked. "She helped herself," he said. "Just like everyone else." The sirens were right outside now. Lights flashed through the windows. He backed away, hands shaking. "You can still stop this," he said. "We can say you fell. That you were confused." I looked at him. At the man everyone praised. At the marriage they admired. And I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Strength. "No," I said. "This ends now." The door burst open. Police rushed in. I dropped the knife and raised my hands. They took him down. He did not fight. He just stared at me. Cold. Empty. Hours later, I sat wrapped in a blanket, giving my statement. I handed them everything. The documents. The recordings. The folder marked final. They listened. This time, they believed me. Weeks passed. Then months. The truth spread. The other cases reopened. Families finally got answers. The woman on the phone was arrested. So were others. It was bigger than anyone thought. But it was over. I moved out of that house. I changed my number. I learned how to breathe again. Some nights, I still wake up shaking. But I am alive. People still say, "Your marriage looked perfect." I nod. Because now I know something important. Praise can hide poison. Love can wear a mask. And silence can kill. If you are watching this and something feels wrong in your life, listen to that feeling. If this story moved you, please subscribe, like this video, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss stories that matter. And tell me in the comments what country you are watching from, so I know who is here with me. Because sometimes, the truth only survives when it is heard. And today, you heard mine.